a writer and educator originally from the Pacific Northwest. He is currently working on 2 collections, a short story series about the missed opportunities for intimacy between people and communities, and a flash fiction collection highlighting the struggle of a man coming to terms with being a single parent. After these, he might get started on that sci-fi novel he has been dreaming of.
What was in that bio. It's not entirely accurate anymore.
We're all works.
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't know the order, so I didn't turn on the computer.
I guess we should have been
This would count as part of my age. I'm just going to read a short, kind of one-page flash fiction piece titled Fear Step. Which came out of me listening to a song by Wolfar Arnalds, a Swedish composer, who has some really okay stuff and some really amazing stuff. But it represented, like this piece, it's not, I don't know if it's like the best writing I've ever done, but it's a piece that represented like a change for me and a going back, and like a coming back, so kind of a circular thing. And I thought it kind of fitting. So here it is, Fear Step. A man carrying roses out of the post looks out over the street toward a nearly empty French bakery. The cold rests in the core of his hands and closes the door with a jingle bell. The sidewalk a mix of shattered ice and a cloudy grain of salt and sand. Flakes of snow stick like bits of down to the bark of a looming yew tree and the red hat of a boy shoveling snow. At the last edge of the Puget Sound, along the railway tracks passing the harbor and back to Mount Rainier, is the last hum of radiant color near the window of a bakery, onto the dim gray snow turned ashy by the fading light of day. The man notices a woman sitting in the bakery, eating a pastry next to her jacket, and the length of a maroon wool scarf draped over an empty stool. She licks a bit of jam from the edge of a thumb, flips the page of a glossy magazine. The tight curls of her hair held in place with clips white as bone. Between the pages, the woman's hand squeezes the back of her neck after warming on a steaming cup of tea next to her plate. In a small moment, he meets her eyes between the cars parked in the snow through the glass of the bakery window. He smiles, giving a light wave of his free hand, an armful of deep maroon roses snug to his chest in the other. But her gaze falls back to the magazine, where she visits before rising from the chair and moving toward the back of the bakery. When she returns, there's a small rose leaning on the wool of her scarf. The rose thorns have been plucked from the stem, leaving behind a vibrant green, and several leaves branched out into small, delicate bunches. The rich red petals look almost velvet in texture, but feel more smooth, like silk, as she brings them to a brush on her fingers and then her cheek. The woman looks around the empty bakery, notices the baker pushing carts of day-old bread behind the counter, the street outside glooming into the blue of a winter night. She picks up the rose, twirling it first, then taking in the sweet floral smell, feels the laugh of her late mother in the garden clipping roses of tangerine and red. A similar tingle shivers across her scalp, as though her mother's hands, oiled with rose, were running through her thick hair. She's caught off guard by the vividness of the memory, and the physical sensation it leaves trailed across her skin. She flusters, almost panics for a second, recalling her mother squeezing a loaf of bread at another bakery, and kneeling to tear a warm piece off before placing it in her mouth to melt. She gasps at the heat in her lungs and on her tongue. But not a moment later, the feelings are swept up in the sounds of a bakery where she now stands, overwhelmingly alone. The woman pulls on her scarf, her jacket, leaves the remaining pastry next to the cup of tea. "Thank you," she says to the baker, who nods with his hand as though his white paper hat were brimmed. She steps out onto the sidewalk into the quietness of winter. The number 15 bus soothes by like a quiet train. She looks for the man with the roses, but he's nothing but footprints in the snow.